March 9, 2020 at the Health Licensing Office in Salem, Oregon. I will now call roll. Michelle Strobel here. Frank Watley? Not present. Ragnar Wirth?
Here.
Amber Starks?
Here.
Tracy
Paramo. Here.
Hen
Here.
Wynn. Thank you, Wynn. And then Harold Folks?
Present.
Members, during the course of the meeting, please wait to speak until recognized by the chair. Once you have been recognized, please state your last name. Audience members are asked to sign in on the attendance roster. Public interested parties' feedback may be heard during the public interested parties' feedback period indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. This meeting is called to order.
So this is Sylvie. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
This is Amber. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Harold, I second it.
Harold got it first. Harold got a second. So a motion has been made and seconded. Michelle will now call roll.
Michelle Strobel? Yay. Frank Watley, it should have stopped saying his name.
Yep.
He's not here. Ragnar Wirth?
Aye.
Amber Starks?
Yay.
Tracy Carmo?
Aye.
Wen?
No, it's Hein.
Hein Wen?
You don't have to say their last name. They all know who they are.
Yes.
Harold?
Yay.
Motion carries. So next item on the agenda is determine additional training requirements for an individual to take a re-exam. So in your packet is applicant number 116891. The individual needs permission to be able to take the barber exam for the 8th attempt. What you have been doing is allowing us to schedule with them a 2-hour study review that will help them pass. This individual has done one study review in the past, but that was back in April of 2019. So this would be we would set aside a 2-hour session if you guys approve.
Sounds good.
This is Amber. Have we done this before, or is the second study? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Then, yes.
So this is Sylvie, just to clarify, the rules changed effective January 1 on the study review. We started incorporating that into the steps if you do not pass. This individual, last time they took their exam was in September, so they don't even fall into the new rule yet because the individual was taken prior to.
Oh, okay.
So we started incorporating that in because knowing that it was helping,
Right.
but that was before this person got as far along as they are at the moment.
So do we need someone to make a motion? This is Amber. I make a motion to approve the study review. Anything else?
Nope,
Okay.
Okay.
We need a second?
This is Tracy, I second.
All right. So,
The motion is made, and then you will now call roll.
motion has been made, and I will now call roll. Michelle? Aye. Ragnar?
Aye.
Amber?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
And?
Aye.
Yes.
Harold?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Tracy, you've been in a meeting before, but you were on the phone.
Correct.
So nobody here has visually seen you.
Correct.
Well, we've seen you. So I don't know if you want to reintroduce yourself, because I think, I don't know if it's the first time the three of you have seen her.
It is the first time.
Yes.
Well, hello, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Welcome
Nice
to
to
the team.
Yeah,
Good to
thank
see
you. Nice to be here. I'm Tracy Paramo. I've been in the industry for 30 years. I'm originally from Texas. I've been in Portland for 8 years now. I'm fully licensed, hair, skin, and nails. I have worked in pretty much every capacity, owned a salon, worked in a salon commission, worked for major corporations, all the whole jazz. I now work for Summit Salon Academy. I'm the director of operations there. and I'm really excited to be part of the team. Thank you.
To introduce ourselves.
I was just going to say, you might want to tell her a little bit about who you are. Yes, that would be good.
Oh, who I am?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Carol, folks. I lived in Oregon for, 11 years, 12 years. I own the Influential Grooming Lounge in Northeast Portland.
Okay.
And we're opening up our second shop in Gresham. And thank you. And I've been in this industry for about 4 or 5 years.
Nice.
And I was appointed by the governor, so to work with the board and to represent the people of Oregon.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Amber Starks, and I am a natural hairstylist, so I work in a salon that focuses on braiding, locking, traditional African-American styling. The salon's called Conscious Coils. It's in Portland, Oregon, and I have been doing it professionally, I guess, for 6 years, and about the same amount of time on the board. It's been great.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I am Michelle.
I'm Michelle.
Strobel. Yeah, very pleased to meet you. And I own a practice down in Eugene, Oregon. I've been in the industry for like 35 years. I hate to date myself.
Right.
Started out as a makeup artist and then got into the aesthetics part of it. And so now I own a laser clinic. And I ran for state representative up in Washington State, about 10 years ago. And I loved the whole process. And so this is a good fit for me.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And then we do have on the phone two other board members. So, Ragnar, you want to tell her a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey, I'm Ragnar. I'm at Petition. All my work was with med spas and laser stuff. These days I'm a nurse, so I don't really do much of the aesthetics anymore. That's about it.
Okay, and then Hein, you're on the phone. Do you want to tell her a little bit about you?
Yes, my name is Hian Wen. I'm certified as a nail technician and esthetician. Now a nail instructor at a PBS, and I worked as a nail technician for about 2 years.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go into item number 3. You should have a script there to read.
The Board of Cosmetology will now meet in executive session pursuant of Oregon State Law 1926602 and ORS 1923559 and ORS 40-221 for the purpose of considering information related to legal advice exempt from public disclosure at 10:13 a.m. on March 9th, 2020. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are required to leave the room. Are there any representatives of the news media in the audience?
Don't know yet.
I would say no.
Okay.
Well, we're in for a long year.
You guys have to take your personal belongings with you.
News media in attendance. All other audience members are asked to leave the room during the executive session. We will return to open session before taking any final action or making any final decisions.
Is that yours? No.
Now in executive session. Now exit executive session and reconvene open session at 10:43 a.m. No final decisions were made, no votes were taken in executive session.
Okay, so, all right, Maria, you want to turn the recordings off?
Yep.
All right, we're going to...
Yes, we're good.
You good? Okay. So we're back on the record. It is 10:49. Ragnar and Hein, are you still on the phone?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay, so on the agenda, we are on item number 4, which is for the board to review the amended rule petition that we received. So hopefully everybody's had time to read it, but it should be on your tablets, and if you need a hard copy, just let us know. We can give you one.
I have them. I gave them.
Okay, so, oh, you have one in front of you?
Yep.
Okay, so that's the petition that the amended one that we received. Does anybody want to talk about the petition at all? or more about wanting to get into the public comment?
I'd like to give a public comment.
Okay, do you want to, how do you want that to work? Do you want to do a set time that everybody gets? Do you want to clarify? So I'd like to clarify a couple things. So everybody knows, like I just said earlier, the public comment goes through March 23rd at 5 p.m. So that includes any written comments. So today is about oral comments. If you have any written comments, you're welcome to email them to Sammy. The business card is back there in the back. If you don't know her email address already. And then the other thing is we are human and we always go, oh, we should have said such and such. As soon as you leave, you're like, and I forgot to say such and such. The comment period is still open, so put it in writing, you get it, email it to Sammy. So if you forget to say something, don't stress out about that. The other thing is there's a lot of you here, and to prevent a really, really short amount of time that each person gets to talk, we would like to make sure that everybody is clear that there's no need to repeat yourself. We're listening to you all. If you all have the same comment, you can say, I agree with what she said, versus reiterating what she said. So if you guys are willing to do that, the board may give you a longer period of time to speak. They may say, you know what, because they have to talk about it, they may say, okay, everybody gets 2 minutes. But, so I just want to let you know there's a lot of you here today, so we want to make sure everybody gets to be heard. We also don't want it to be here until 6 o'clock tonight. So what do you guys think? You want to do a timeline? Do you want to give everybody a few minutes? We can get a timer.
I think a couple of minutes.
How many people have signed up for making a public comment?
I don't know where the other people are.
I only have one sheet. Somebody has one. There are more sheets?
Got 4 here.
And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we only actually have 12 individuals who want to actually speak.
So this is Amber. I mean, I think we're here to listen to your comments, and I think that we can all agree to just,
Oh, here's another 2 more sheets.
Just sign her up.
Oh, okay. So this is so there's 2 separate sheets.
Attendance.
One's for attendance. Everybody in this room has to sign the attendance one, regardless if you want to speak or not. And then if you want to speak, give on this one, okay? Everybody comfortable? We'll move forward, and we can always ask if somebody wants to make a comment. So there's only 12 individuals who currently want to make a comment.
Yeah, so this is Amber again. Like, I feel like we are here to hear your comments, and I want to hear them. So I think if we all can be respectful of time, I don't feel like I should say you only get 2 minutes, but I just ask if we could be respectful and, like Sylvie said, if it's something that we've already heard, 5 or 6 times, then to refer to the person who spoke before, but I'm here to listen, and I just ask that we just have mutual respect, if that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay? All right, so 2 things. One is there's a script drive page. So you'll want to read that, and then go through here. And I know sometimes handwriting's bad. I don't necessarily have to say their last name, but if you can at least get their first name out. Okay. And then when you get to the table, you need to say your full name, first and last. Okay? Because we're going to record everything that everybody's saying, okay?
At this time, the Board of Cosmetology will hear public interested parties' feedback. Members of the audience, please wait until you have been recognized by the chair. Once recognized, please state your name and affiliation to the board for the record. And so I have Helene as the first person.
Good morning. My name is Hélène Lawless. I represent the Oregon Esthetician for Fair Licensing, a group of 850 members who are presenting this petition to you today, or whenever it was. And I'm glad you're all here, despite the coronavirus. I intended to read the entire petition to you today. I do understand that we don't want to spend too much time doing this, but I do feel strongly that I need to at least read you the introduction and the first part of it. So everybody in the audience knows about it and the view, and then I will make my comments after that. So you have to bear with my lovely French accent, but I'll try my best. So this is an amended petition to repeal Rule 817-010-0067. Petitioner Hélène Lawless, on behalf of the Oregon Estheticians for Fair Licensing, OEFL, hereby respectfully request that the Oregon Health Authority repeal Rule 67. OEFL understands the need for regulation to protect customers' health and safety and appreciates the need for rule changes that update and streamline processes and align infection control requirements with current practices. OEFL supports the requirement that use of lasers and other invasive devices required an advanced aesthetic certification. OEFL further welcomes rule change that will define the scope of standard practice esthetician as distinct from certified advanced esthetician. However, it is for all these reasons that OEFL disagrees with the Oregon State Board of Cosmetology adoption of Rule 67. The rule in its present form doesn't meaningfully advance customer health and safety. Rather, Rule 67 prohibits, in a manner inconsistent with existing law, the practice of aesthetic procedures that Oregon estheticians have been performing safely for many years. Standard practice estheticians have been safely using devices such as high-frequency, galvanic current, microcurrent, and LED for decades. Each of those devices stimulates the skin beyond the stratum corneum, but not beyond the stratum basal. I do have on exhibit 1 a drawing of the skin. Anybody wants to see this? This shows you the different layers of the skin, the stratum corneum, the different layer until the stratum basal. This is the epidermis, and below this is the dermis. So if ever you need to, here is a copy. These devices do so without the use of lasers or other invasive mechanisms. Yet Rule 67, which was intended to regulate the use of lasers and invasive devices, restricts the practice of standard esthetician to only those procedures that stimulate above the stratum corneum. No public health or safety reason exists to justify this restriction on standard aesthetic practice. In exchange for little actual consumer protection, Rule 67 unfairly inhibits the livelihood of hundreds of hard-working Oregonians. Rule 67 requires standard practice estheticians who have been using these devices without consumer complaints for decades to either forego a substantial portion of their livelihood or return to school at a significant expense to acquire a certificate of advanced aesthetics, only to return to performing procedures which, before Rule 67, would never have been considered advanced aesthetics. As explained in greater details below, OEFL requests that this agency repeals Rule 67 for the following reason. Rule 67 does not reflect the legislative intent of its enabling legislation, HB 2642, because 1, that legislation was intended to regulate the use of devices capable of penetrating beyond the stratum basal. 2, several of the devices Rule 67 would ban do not penetrate beyond the stratum basal, and 3, they do not pose any risk to public safety. Rule 67 contradicts the existing statutory definition of standard practice aesthetics that includes device stimulating the layers of the skin beyond the stratum corneum. Rule 67 contradicts existing administrative rules permitting estheticians to use chemicals that extend beyond the stratum corneum, but not beyond the stratum basal. Rule 67 blurs existing boundaries between the practice of standard estheticians into that of advanced estheticians, because it requires advanced aesthetic training to use device commonly used by standard aesthetics. Lastly, Rule 67 creates a negative financial impact on estheticians operating in Oregon that is disproportionate to any purported benefits that it might create to the public health and safety. For those reasons, and for others stated in this petition, OEFL respectfully requests that the agency repeal Rule 67 and replace the rule with regulation more protective of public health and safety, but less arbitrarily restrictive of standard practice esthetician. We've been safely using the procedures Rule 67 would effectively prohibit for decades. Following this, you have a further explanation of why we ask those things. If you want me to continue reading, please let me know. Or if you want me to follow with my comments, I can do so.
Great, follow with your comments.
So we all know this petition is basically asking you to repeal the rule. And I would just want to kind of say that whoever in this room agree with this petition, please raise your hand. Thank you. I would like to know, I would like people in this room to know that on October 14, 2019, my public comments and concern about the implication of Rule 67 was presented to the Board of Cosmetology. It stated the fact that this rule would reduce the esthetician scope and have several severe financial impact. So I reprinted the comment that was presented to you by Sami on that meeting. Also, I would like to quote the October 14 recording of the board meeting, cosmetology board meeting. There is a discussion on device, minute 30 something. I quote, we know it's an issue. The way this law is written is not making any clearer. Is not making it any clearer. It was followed by a brief comment mentioned by Amber Stark of the option to go back to legislator. And it's followed by Sami Patnot saying that a group of advanced estheticians from whom the law originated discussed it, but did not follow through. I raised the question, should the rule have not been dismissed at that time and real solution offered? Our petition is not asking you to amend the rule. I know we were presented with question to give you solution, but we all know, as well as you know, as well as HOA know, that the real solution is an amendment of the Advanced Aesthetic Statutes. We have identified with the help of OHA that removing the sentence FDA-registered device from the advanced scope of practice will allow both scopes to use device and go back to work. We have proposed such an amendment to the legislator. This amendment will fix the language, and it will also clarify the difference between estheticians and advanced esthetician by limiting aesthetic device to the epidermis. This amendment was unanimously approved by all committees during the legislative process. Unfortunately, the walkout that you all know about has suspended the process. Until either the governor calls in a special session or we wait for the 2021 legislative session, we need to work. You cannot let hundreds of estheticians lose their income or simply go out of business. Let me remind you that the devices we are talking about have no safety issue reported, probably for the last 50 years. I believe you have the power to repeal Rule 67 and put a stay on the application of the 2020 rules until we get the amendment through. I hope in light of this new information, you will act to protect our right to practice as well as the safety of the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Leanne?
So I
Your
Oregon
name?
estheticians for, Leanne Bird. I'm a licensed esthetician, and I own my own business, and I'm also with Helen and the Oregon Estheticians for Fair Licensing. She's worked really hard for us, you guys.
Yes, she has.
Really, really hard. And I might get emotional because you guys could have fixed this before we got here. We didn't have to spend our own money, have her raise all her time. We didn't have to hire a lawyer and a lobbyist and go to the state and do all this. You guys could have fixed this. And we tried. We came to other meetings. And we sat here and we were told over and over and over again, this is not going to affect you. This is for laser. This is for ultrasound. This is not for services that you already offer. And it's on the record, and we can pull it up, and we have it. How did this happen? How did we get here? This is affecting our livelihood now. This isn't something that is going to happen. As of the 1st, we're losing income. I work for myself. No one else helps me pay my bills. This is scary. And you guys could have fixed it for us, and you didn't. And you made us raise our own money and do our own work and foot the bill. And we're all just trying to stay in business too, so please consider that. And the second thing I wanted to bring up is the communication. We get terrible communication from you guys. It is not clear. It is not across the board. Half of us aren't even getting emails. There would be much more of us if people even knew this happened. I work in a salon that is really big with 7 other estheticians, and I am the only one that knows about this rule that passed on the 1st. I had to tell all of them because the communication coming from this board is so hit and miss. It is shoddy, it is laughable, and quite frankly, we deserve better, especially if you're coming after ways that I can make an income. You guys contact me without fail every year when you want my money, and when all of a sudden it's going to affect my income, half of us aren't getting emails, we don't know what's happening. I mean, it just seems pretty convenient. Like, that's not okay. We have to communicate better. You guys used to have a Facebook page that kind of helped with things. I don't know where that went. Most people don't even know these meetings happen and that they can come and that they exist and that they can be heard.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
How has it affected you monetarily? What devices, because I would like to know.
Well, we used to be able to use microcurrent. That is a great anti-aging tool that a lot of us use in our practices. And that's a big part of my income. I can charge $120, or some people might charge more or less. But if I'm not doing those services, each day at the end of the month, that's thousands of dollars. And this hit on the 1st. In January and February, those are hard months anyways. And now you're taking away money that I could have made, and you guys, this didn't even have to happen.
Any other devices?
Several others, but
Okay.
that's a big one for me.
Right. I just want to hear monetarily which devices that as estheticians.
I don't know that I can speak for everyone else, but I know that microcurrent's a big one.
Okay.
We were doing microneedling, which is another great new service.
LED.
Oh God, yeah, LED.
High frequency.
So high frequency's been around forever.
Buy it on Amazon.
And we're talking about microneedling. You can buy that out of somebody's trunk if they're selling them down in fields.
Thank you.
Come on.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
can I say
Yeah,
something? You were presented also with the
Yes.
petition, and if you look at this, you have the financial impact of 500 people.
Yes.
So if you really want to know exactly what the financial
Devices.
impact is all in.
It's hard to read online, but I have
It's okay.
copies.
I've read them. I wanted to hear. Thank you so much, Leanne.
No, and I appreciate you guys putting up with me being so emotional about it. It's hard.
Thank you. Thank you. Susan Elridge. Oh, hi.
My name is Susan Eldridge. I've been an esthetician for 40 years. In January, I beat you by 1 year. Probably longer than some of you have been alive. I've been working for the doctor that I work for over 23 years. We as estheticians don't do laser. We just stick to the skincare products. We did run a report, and to take away the high frequency, the galvanic, the Dermafrac, the LED light was going to cost our practice over $100,000. We were going to lose $100,000 that first year. But my main purpose of being up here is I was asked, there's an esthetician, her name is Sally Ann Hobart. She, back in 2016, I'm nervous, I shouldn't be nervous. Back in 2016, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. She has been an esthetician for 25 years. She's had her own business for 8 years. The result of this change in our practice, in our scope of practice, is a huge impact on her financially and also to help her pay her bills. Her business helps her pay her medical bills. She sent a long letter, and I know she sent that to Sammy, but I'm just going to read a part of it. Microcurrent LED light panel generates approximately 75% of my business. Without it, I would not be in business. In 2016, I was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's, which she could not come here today because she needs someone to drive her, and her husband wasn't available to do that. I chose to mention this in my letter because of its relevance for my future. In any progressive disease, one never knows how long normal life can be sustained. So the question of how much longer I will be able to operate lies in the balance. I'm currently able to keep my medical bills paid up, and consider myself fortunate that I do not have a lot of stress associated with my work. I'm a 60-year-old woman with Parkinson's disease and would not be employable at this stage of the game, so this business is my lifeline, source of independence and passion. If I wasn't able to continue for a few more years because the Board of Cosmetology decided to remove microcurrent and LED from my scope of practice, I could not afford, nor would it be worth it, my while, as my disease progresses and the future is uncertain, to invest in the Advanced Aesthetics course. I also consider the loss of clientele that I've worked so hard to build. Where I attended a school for 6 months, she would lose that clientele if she had to close her doors and go to school for 6 months. The loss of income would be devastating to her and her family. I sincerely hope this letter will be taken into consideration moving forward. Sincerely, Sally Ann Hobart. So I appreciate you letting me read her letter today, and I too am truly in support of the repeal of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Lacey?
My name is Lacey Mendoza. I'm here in support of Portland Beauty School. We are in full support of repealing Rule 67 and an immediate stay on enforcement. As stated by members of the Board of Certified Advanced Estheticians, this rule was never intended to reduce the scope of practice for licensed estheticians, but it is the outcome we are currently facing. Our school's curriculum is already approved for the 2021 school year through the Higher Education Coordinating Commission. This curriculum now includes modalities that are considered out of scope for licensed estheticians. If we continue to teach this curriculum, our students will not be insured for those services that fall outside of their scope of practice. If we do not teach what is in our approved curriculum, we cannot ethically graduate those students. If the curriculum is changed to match the scope of practice, you create an entire year of students that are not workforce ready compared to their peers. They will not have the same skill set as a student that graduated prior to January 1st, 2020. It will create hardship for these students. It is simply not fair to the students or administration to be faced with this inadvertently created challenge. Please repeal Rule 67. And I just want to say, I ended up closing my business in Lake Oswego. I was a solo practitioner. I made about $85,000 a year as a solo practitioner. But because of this change, I knew that my clientele would not come back to me. I would have to actually send them to an advanced esthetician. They'd have to pay more. And I decided it was in my best interest to close ahead of this rule change. I now only make $32,000 a year. That's a huge hit for someone with 3 teenagers. So I want to make that very, very clear that it is affecting us financially. The devices that we can no longer use are microcurrent, microneedling, galvanic current. We can no longer use LED light therapy. Those things are huge in the industry right now, and that is the bulk of our clientele. So, and it doesn't make sense for me to go have a certified advanced education because I'm already a master esthetician in Washington State. I've already done my 1,350 hours and I've already paid almost $20,000 in education. There's no reciprocity here. So even if I wanted to continue to use those devices, my only path forward is to spend another $15,000 on an education that I already have. So that's all I have to say. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Ella Aguilar. I represent Portland Beauty Academy, formerly known as Portland Beauty School. I am a fully licensed practitioner within the state of Oregon, the state of California, and the state of Nevada, as well as a licensed educator. The challenge I bring forth is schools, a different perspective, in that we are regulated by two governing bodies, by health licensing and by higher education. We, in the last year, have gone through an extensive amount of changes in what we were doing with our hours. The first time we had changed that in quite a number of years. And those operations in which to attain those hours. Schools had to adjust all of their curriculums to accommodate those things that were then put into place July 1st of this year. My challenge is now there's a lack of communication. There's a lack of communication from this state board and a lack of communication through higher education. My curriculum is already approved for a year moving forward. Now, because I am a competency-based program, I graduate a very high volume of students per year. I enroll up to 85 estheticians a month, and I graduate almost 600 estheticians a year. This demolishes a business that has existed for over 25 years. My enrollment team is now made to be liars for what they have been enrolling in. And our students are going into multiple different portions of what this field is. That is what makes this industry ever evolving and makes this industry so unique. We can be whatever we want to be. And when we have now taken this scope of practice that has existed for 25 plus years and now reduced it to something so much smaller, we now have so many more people who have now already made those sacrifices to go to school, already made those sacrifices in childcare and taking those hits and what this financially does to them. They're now being told they need to go back to school. They're now being told that what they fought so hard for and then continue to fight so hard for as independent contractors or independent business owners, that it was all for naught. And all of these rules can continue to change without anybody having any notification whatsoever. My challenge also falls into, we have regulated this industry to the point where sometimes this doesn't make so much sense. In order for somebody to open up a group home for the elderly, do you know how much that costs? To apply to do that within the state of Oregon costs $50. Do you know what the renewal for that is? They don't have to renew it. Do you know how much it costs for somebody to be certified in order to take care of the most vulnerable group of people we have? They don't need any certifications. They barely need a GED. But it costs me $125 every 2 years to renew each one of my licenses. And then another $75 and CEUs to renew my education license. I think that there's a lot of holes here and a lot of challenges here. And the goal has to be brought back to what does it mean to be an esthetician? What does it mean to be a hairdresser? What does it mean to be a nail technologist? And where are these challenges actually coming from? Because the challenges within what they chose to do here had absolutely nothing to do with us. Had everything to do with lasers. And it sounds like a lot of this could have been prevented before it hit the wall right now. So right now, my biggest issue is that my students are now going to be facing some major challenges. I'm going to have to go back and find all of these students that have graduated over the years and try to contact them and tell them that they are now going to be facing financial hardship and needing to go back to school for something they already know how to do. Because we didn't look hard enough at 2 words in a sentence. Where communication could have changed all of this. And communication on multiple levels. This leads to a bigger problem we have here.
Thank you.
That was my bit.
Thank you.
I can't read the rest. It's Aria something.
Oh, Ayana.
Okay, perfect. Come on up.
So my name's Ariana Sanchez. I own 2 beauty salons here in Salem, and I also mentor a lot of students, new graduates who get into the field with a lot of hopes and challenges too. I've realized that my main thing is the lack of communication, because whenever I have a question regarding a new service, I usually try and come to the board and ask about it so we can be on the same page. And a lot of the time I've been told different answers, and then I hear different answers from other estheticians in the field, things changing, research, like within your scope of practice, if it doesn't fall under your scope of practice, it could be, you could be fined. So I think it's really important to communicate better with estheticians. Maybe like some of the estheticians were saying there used to be a Facebook group, something where we're all on the same page. That way there's no confusion. Also, the notices, I just found out about the petition through a skincare specialist, so I never got any notices. I'm not sure if everybody got notices here. So this was something recent and new to me, that's why I'm here. And I do support the petition because, like everyone's been saying, we've spent so much money in schooling. It is affecting everyone, and for a change this big to just happen overnight, not okay. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. Robbie?
Yes. Oh. My name is Robbie Buckley, and I am a licensed aesthetic practitioner, and I also own the Oregon Dermal Academy. So I have both sides of the spectrum here. I've been practicing for 23 years and teaching for 19. And as my course, basic course for aesthetics, includes all of the things that we were previously able to do, high frequency, galvanic, LED, microdermabrasion, those are the courses that make up my curriculum to set our students ahead of the rest, and also not deprive them of the modalities that were under our license, any more than a hairstylist taking away pin curls, roller sets, and all of those kinds of things. It was basic. As a practitioner, I've been doing this for 23 years. I also work with cancer patients. And as working with cancer patients, I use LED and I use high frequency with their doctor's consent because of the healing process. I agree with all of these other people that have had what they've had to say about taking away from us. I'm old. I have no desire to go and learn to do lasers. I do not want to do that. But I do not want to give up my practice nor my school to have to go back to school and spend $15,000, $17,000, $20,000 just to use modalities that I've been using since I got into this industry. So I really, really hope on both sides of the scope, as a school and as a practitioner, that you really think about this. I was on the advisory rules committee for the advanced aesthetic certification, and it didn't make any sense then. It still doesn't make any sense. However, I think the basics that we've been allowed to at least learn and use in our practice should remain so. And that's all I have to say.
Elaine?
Good morning. I'm Elaine McMillan. I came from Florence, a little coastal town outside of Eugene.
And I'm hoping to bring a little bit of a shift in perspective for you. For those of us who live on the coast, it's a little bit different than for those of you guys in Portland and in Salem. Opportunity is really hard to find. I own several businesses in Florence. I've had an award-winning spa for 8 years. I'm a licensed nail tech and esthetician. I recently just opened a brewery in Florence. And let me tell you, I am regulated by everything you could imagine with that brewery. Okay? On top of everything that I do at the spa. And I understand the need for rules. You know, there has to be balance though. There has to be a balance of independence, yet a balance of safety for the community and the public. I feel like there's an overreach here. And in my area, we don't have a lot of opportunity. We live in a predominantly retirement community. Since I've opened this brewery, my husband quit his full-time job. He made almost $80,000 a year. Guess who pays all of the bills at my home? With the limitation in scope and practice, I was using LED, microcurrent. Those are my 2 top services probably. I'm averaging $149 to $200 an hour. With those services, that cuts a $600 to $700 day down to $300. I don't do basic facials. I don't do basic waxing. I do the things that make people look good. And since I work in a retirement community, this works out very good for me. And since I've had to become the breadwinner of my home, I've had to work extra hours to make those ends meet, and I have a lot on my plate. The financial impact of this, I did some quick math last night. I think I had about a $70,000 a year. I would say a rough estimate based on that would be cut down over half. Just because those are the services that I offer at my wellness spa. I thought, okay, let's look into advanced licensing. That's a no-go for me. I have 2 children I take care of. I have a brewery to run now. I have a spa to run. I'm also a huge part of my community impact. I do a lot of community projects. I'm out in my community working. I think $15,000 to $20,000 to go to school for things I already know about. That's interesting. I also think to myself, I live in a rural area. In the coast, you can't find even a doctor to take care of you. Like a primary care physician at Peace Health in Florence, there's over 600 people right now waiting for a primary care physician. I go pay for this advanced aesthetics license. I'm not going to be able to find a physician who's going to want to work with me because we don't have those type of services. We have no specialists, we have no dermatologists, we don't even have pediatrics in Florence. People drive to Eugene. This doesn't just impact me, it impacts so many of us in so many scopes. And you know, I think that the actual practice of esthetician work is one of the best jobs I've ever had. I've worked in management, I've worked in sales, I've worked in all kinds of crazy stuff before I went self-employed when I was 30. This is the most rewarding career I've had. And to be able to tell clients that I love, that I've had in my bed for 8+ years, that I can't do this for them anymore, and they want to know why. I went to social media about a week ago because somebody had mentioned earlier that half of us didn't even know this was happening. That is so true. I went on social media and I said, hey, I know a lot of you guys don't know this is going on, but this is really important, and I want to get the word out. Within an hour, there were 30 estheticians that I know, Eugene, Springfield, Florence, Newport, Coos Bay, commenting and tagging each other in this post because nobody knew about the rule changes. So I am going to agree with everything that was said today, and I really want the board to realize this is hurting us. I'm scared. I have to pay my mortgage. I have to pay these bills while I get this brewery going. This is a lot of stress for a family of 4 when only one person's bringing home the bacon. And that's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Kimberly?
Hi, my name is Kimberly Bedore, and I'm the owner of Bella Institute School of Cosmetology. I'm an esthetician, I'm an advanced esthetician, and I'm an aesthetic instructor. So I guess the first thing I want to say is I don't even believe that the word advanced esthetician describes what the license is. It's a laser tech license. It's a laser tech license. I have a very, very confident aesthetic instructor. She's been in the industry, I don't know, Sandy, how many years?
35.
35. She and I both went through the advanced esthetician course because she's an advanced esthetician. I mean, whatever you guys call it, she's an advanced esthetician. And now we're laser techs on top of it. And we have to pay for that license. We had to go out and find somebody who would be our partner in that. We have to pay for additional insurance. We now have lasers at our school waiting to start an advanced esthetician program. And even though I carry the license and know how to do this stuff, my heart isn't in it. I love aesthetics. I love aesthetics. I love the science and the applying chemicals and using LEDs or using microneedling and all the things that we can do now to the skin that we don't have to go through the danger of using laser technology when we can get similar results using some of the devices that have been taken away from us. So, you know, as someone who went through the training, who pays the bills for, you know, paying the licenses for that, I did what you're asking them to do. And it was a waste of my time because even though I own a laser myself, I love LED. I love the science of applying chemicals and using microneedling. I love those things. And so I just wanted to speak first from the passion of actually being an esthetician. Now I want to put on the school owner hat. And we recently had, prior to July 1st, we could do 20 facials. Our students could do 20 facials and they could get out. Now they have to do 140 facial operations. 140. And so we have to use the LED, we have to use the galvanic, we have to use all the things that we're doing in order to rack up 140 mark-offs for these people. And we have to, I mean, like, we're working all the time. I mean, we're competency-based, you know, we're not pumping out the same number of people Portland Beauty School is. We're putting out very highly trained estheticians. And if I have to take those services away from them and say, no, you can't learn those things anymore. One, I'm not following the lady curriculum. Two, I'm not even following the approved services that are, you know, the curriculum that we have for this school year. So we're going to say, okay, you guys have to ignore large portions of your Milady textbook because you can't do that, even though all the other people who are using Milady textbook all over the United States are using the very same things, but not in Oregon, not here. You guys are going to have to go to another school and get either the whatever curriculum you're using. I don't know if they're going to use the Miladies. I know that there's other ones, advanced textbooks that they have to use, not to become better estheticians, but to become laser techs, so they can go back and be an esthetician. And that's the part that makes zero sense at all. So what are we going to do for the 140 operations that you have us do? How many facials are they going to have to do? And how long is it going to take them to get through? Because we can't use LED, we can't use microcurrent, we can't use high frequency, we can't use the galvanic. Let's throw out all the machines we have. That makes zero sense. Oh, and now our school, to be competitive, I'm having to start an advanced esthetician program. I don't want to, but I'm going to have to, because my students are already saying, Kim, you've got to teach me how to do this. This is a good school. I know you've got this stuff. Now become an advanced esthetician. You know what I'm having to do? We just moved to a beautiful new building. I'm having to find new space because I got no place I can teach lasers. So I've got that. I've got people who cash pay to come to my school. How are they going to now come up with another $15,000 so they can do the kind of things that, you know, that they came into the industry thinking they could do? So economic impact on me as a school owner, economic impact on the student. What are we going to do about getting those 140 operations done? And why are we calling the license an advanced esthetician? Because you don't know any more about skincare. You don't know any more about the structure of the skin. All you know how to do is you know how to use laser devices. So be a laser tech, not an advanced esthetician. Ray?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ray Motamani. I'm a managing member at the Beta Institute, Portland. I'm actually here on behalf of our students, graduates. I think it has a huge amount of economic, financial effects on them. They've paid to go to school. I know in the last 2 years on the education side, we've been working really hard on getting the best curriculum for them to be successful estheticians. And that happened in the last 2 years, and we've implemented it as of July of last year. This is for them to be able to be financially sound, to have a great career in front of them, and I think by limiting them, you will hurt them in the future. So I asked you to take a look at it, the effects it has on them, the effects that everybody has here, and really take a look at it, deeper look at it, and come up with the right decision for us. Thank you.
Noel?
My name is Noelle Sanborn, and I am here as well for Beta Institute, Portland. I am a licensed esthetician in Washington, Oregon, as well as California, as well as a licensed educator. And I really just want to reiterate the financial impact that this has not only on our estheticians out in the field, but as several people have stated, the students that we are graduating. We have been using these modalities for several years. I have been licensed myself for 35 years as well. And to take away something like this just based on an inconsistency in the language, I think that that's where we need to start, is clearing up the language so that we're kind of all speaking the same thing. And that's really all. I just wanted to reiterate what everyone else has said and kind of solidify that.
Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, Brenda.
Hi, my name is Brenda Satchel. I've been a licensed esthetician for over 30 years. I do maintain all licenses still. I have practiced in every realm, from hairdressing, barber, nail tech, to an esthetician, to a trainer. I've been a licensed educator in the past. I recently stepped back out of that field 3 years ago to develop my own practice, something I've wanted to do for over 30 years. So to have what is going on here right now is extremely distressing, okay? My business has only been up and operating about 2.5 years. I'm at that stage where I'm finally comfortable, I'm making money, I'm able to pay my mortgage, support my family, and do what I need to do. Now, I have taken a look and an evaluation of my income. My income is probably about almost $80,000. I went through every single month and documented every single client. I will lose 83% of that income without my microcurrent, my microderm, my light therapy, even my BT micro actually fits into the category of devices that you guys have created. I'm here to just request that you guys support our amendment and do the right thing. I'm terrified, okay? I lose this today. I've got to close my shop in 90 days, period. So, just to sit here, it's unbelievable. And I do also support these women and men on communication. The only reason I know anything about this is thanks to Helen, okay? Yep. Not anything from my regulating agency, from another esthetician. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Is everybody on the list?
That's it.
Okay, so that's everybody who's on the list. Has anybody changed their mind who did not sign up to testify, who now wants to testify? Okay, can you tell me that list, please?
Yes.
That's a good one. Come on.
All right, Rhonda?
Hi, I am Rhonda Parkis. I have Amani Institute of Cosmetology. Sorry, in Medford. So I just gave up my whole livelihood to take over a school. So now my whole livelihood of this school, I'm probably going to lose. So since this rule changed, I've lost 50% of my students because they're coming to school to learn something under a curriculum that was approved by the Higher Education Office and by your office, and I can't teach it. So now I have students asking for their money back. You know, I paid for this curriculum. This is what I'm coming to school to do. So I'm losing a lot, you know, and I'm sure there's other schools that are probably on the verge of closing because of these rules also. So I'm begging for a change. I'm a laser tech. I came from the dermatology office. I've done it for years, and I agree. It's a laser tech. You know, these are estheticians. And I'm asking you to fight for them. Give them a chance. I brought 3 of my students here today to take their test. They're going to go out of this and have their own practices and do things that I taught them to do that they can't do. So I am asking for this change.
Thank you.
Anybody else change their mind and want to say something now? No? Okay, so if you, yes. So this is Sylvie. It looks like several of you actually put the word opposed on the thing. So you might want to switch that because you're in support of the petition and opposed to the rule, but you're in support of the rule petition. So we'll keep that and you can change it afterwards.
Hi, my name is Maria Palacios. I'm from here, from Salem, Oregon. And I only had 2 questions. Where this idea come from and whose idea come from? And why you guys decide to do this with no claims that someone is being affected by using this device? And I don't want to repeat what everybody's saying. I just want answers from you. Where this idea come from and whose ideas come from?
Okay, so this is a public comment period. It's not going to be this debate, and it won't be about the answers that you want right now. So,
okay.
So if you have comments that you want them to consider during the rule petition, that's what this portion is for.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else change their mind?
I do. I just have one quick question. It's Leander again. I just want to know if you guys agree with us.
Can you please come up to the table so we can hear the recording? I'm concerned.
Sorry. No. If you guys agree with this and you support us, do you guys have a date? Do you vote today? How will we know? And when can we get back to work?
So again, this is a public comment period. I'll explain how this process works when we're done with the comment period.
Oh, perfect. That's great. That's all I just needed to know.
We got to keep to the procedure on how this process works so that nothing gets missed or a step doesn't get missed, broken, whatever. So we're going to follow the way it's supposed to go.
I just have one more comment to add into what I was saying.
What's your name?
Susan Eldridge. I graduated in Boston as a licensed esthetician in 1980, January of 1980. And during the course of that school, I was using galvanic current. I was taught high frequency. We were doing light therapy. We were doing all of these things, and this was 40 years ago. And the school was called the First National School of Aesthetics. It may have been the first in the States, I don't know. I know Canada had some schools. But we were taught that back in 1980. So to see these devices be taken away as a result, and maybe inadvertently as a result of an advanced aesthetics license, I think is nonsense. They're safe. They've been safe. And again, please consider the financial impact that it's making on many of these people here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so if nobody else is raising your hand, don't forget, you have until 23rd by 5 p.m. So that means we have to receive it by 5 p.m. to continue commenting. So you're welcome to do any kind of written comment. So if you leave here and forget that you wanted to say something, or you don't like public speaking, you're welcome just to email Sammy. Again, her business cards are on that back, right by the door. So you're welcome to email. Okay?
Thank you.
So we're going to move along on the agenda. We are on item number 6. There will be another public comment period under item number 9. If you would like to comment then, obviously, yes, you're welcome to comment about the rules if you think something between now and then, because the public comment period is open. However, it will be intended for making comments on all other board business. Okay? So, yes, so the process has a timeline. So the timeline starts when we receive the second, so the amended rule petition. So that's what started the clock. The clock is 90 days. So you have there's 90 days that the office has to respond in writing. So the public comment period is currently open. It will be, like I said like, I don't know, 10 times, I keep repeating myself. The public comment's open until the 23rd. After that, the board is going to meet again, and they're going to review all public comments. So they'll go through, that's why they all have notebooks right now, and they're taking notes of your guys' verbal comments. They will also have to read through all the written comments. And so at that meeting, they will then decide what to do with the petition. And that we're hoping, as long as we can get quorum, that will be April 6th. However, just so you know, you're more than welcome to attend, but there will not be a public comment period on that agenda, because the public comment period will be over as of 5 o'clock on the 23rd. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So no more comments will be received. Anything that if we receive it at 5:01, we cannot take it into consideration. So please do not wait till the last minute. The other little comment that I wanted to make was, for those of you who are not getting emails from us, I would highly recommend you sending an email to hlo.info@state.or.us and say, here's my current email, please make sure it's in your database.
Yep.
Our database is only as good as what we have. So if your email address has changed since the day that you applied and you did not re-update your email address with this, or we typed it in incorrectly because we're human, I don't know, but if you're not receiving email, I would highly suggest you either contact, because they have to do it in writing, to send an email to the HLO info. You're welcome to go out there and talk to them right now, but they can review your information, and I would make sure that your contact information with us is current, because we do send out emails from our database. Okay?
I sent out an email on Friday to all estheticians. So if you didn't receive that, your email address is wrong in the database. School, if you didn't receive it, whatever we have in interested parties is wrong. Every facility received it, every esthetician, and every advanced esthetician. I personally sent out 12,000 emails from and trust me, there are a lot of wrong emails.
Because we get the bounce backs.
Can I just make a comment?
So you can make a comment during item number 9. We've moved on from public comment, so when we get to item number 9, you're welcome to make a comment.
Right.
Okay? So we're going to move right along. Does anybody, board member-wise, have any questions about where we're at in this process?
No.
No. Okay, and then, so we're on item number 9, so director's report.
Number 6.
6. See, I got my own Twitter page now. Number 6, Director's Report. 2 things. One is the April 6th special meeting. So let's make sure everybody's got that on their calendars. If for some reason you cannot attend, and again, you do not have to be here in person, we obviously have 2 people on the phone today. So that's our next, April 6th is our next deadline for discussion about this petition. The other thing is I want to talk a little bit about legislative session. So there was a bill that would address the legal definition of aesthetics and advanced aesthetics that would potentially help address the issue that everybody has concerns with. However, only 3 bills actually made it through the process when the legislators walked out. So over 250 bills did not make it through the process, which includes this bill and many, many, many other bills. So for the first time ever in the history of Oregon, a legislative session did not finish its process. There's a whole lot of unknown because we have never gotten to this point before, ever. Legislators don't sure what to do. The governor's not quite sure what to do. Plus you have their old coronavirus thing going on, and so everybody's panicking and dealing with that. And also trying to figure out what to do with this legislative session that all of a sudden just stopped. Because it's never happened before. So they're trying to find out what the governor's options are, what the legislators' options are. Can things occur between now and then? Can they do another special session? Can they do an e-board session that deals with things that may partway through? I mean, so there's all these questions right now that are not answered. But that bill potentially would have clarified very quickly what the difference between aesthetics and advanced aesthetics are. Right now, there's some Q&As that we'll get to under the policy report that are public documents. They are posted out on our website, and Sammy has sent them out. Anybody's also welcome to go out and look at them on the website. But up and until those legal definitions change, they are what they are. So when we know more about what the legislation is going to do, I'm assuming most of you will know too because it'll be all over the news. But until then, we're in this major limbo. So that's my update on the Director's Report and the legislation. Because this bill was one of many that affected us. And everything just stopped. So, any questions? No? All right, let's move on. Licensing and fiscal. They moved it. So this is, let me mix my hard copies here. Okay, so this is the licenses issued and renewals process. So for the 2 of you on the phone, we're just starting the statistics reports on your materials that were sent to you from Maria. So the top shows the number of licenses issued, and then the bottom shows the number of licenses renewed. So practitioners, remember, you renew every 2 years. So barber, hairdressers, natural hair care, aesthetics, and nail technology. Individuals only renew every other year. Facility licenses renew annually. Independent contractor licenses renew annually, and so do freelance licenses. Next slide, please. This is the examination statistics. So this is the pass-fail rate broken out by examination. So you have your Oregon laws and rules, barbering, hair, natural hair care, aesthetics, and nail technology. Next slide. So this is the long-term trend for the practitioner certificates. And as you can see, the lines are extremely flat, which is stable, which means you're not growing, but you're also not decreasing in license volume. And so quarter 1 of what it says here as fiscal year 2017, which is a government calendar, a little bit different than everybody else's calendar. So quarter 1 of fiscal year 2017, so quarter 1 is July, August, and September of 2016. Don't ask me why it's that way. So this is the numbers that you have. And so this is Q3 of fiscal year 20. So this is going to be January, February, and March of 20. So that's more about where you're currently at. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Next slide. This is just a snapshot in time. So as of March 2nd, when these reports were ran, there was 140 natural hair care certificate holders. Way more than we ever originally thought, which is great, right? The red, you cannot even totally see that. Let me see if I can read it online. Oh, I can totally read it online. It's, so that's estheticians. So there's 15,315 active estheticians. Nail technology has 13,350. And hair design has 21,319. And mind you, those are active certificates. They're not necessarily the people, because obviously individuals can have more than one license. And for barbering, it's 3,102. And again, that's just a snapshot in time as of March 2nd. Okay? Next slide shows your business licenses. Again, that long-term trend, same timeline. So it's broken out by your independent contractors, facilities, and then your freelance authorization. But again, very steady. If those of you who were around back when the economy went really bad in, what was that?
2008, 9, 10.
I think it was 2009.
2008, 2009.
Your independent contractors and all your licenses were going like this because so many people had lost their jobs. So, but it's been flat for quite some time now. So, which means the economy is currently sustaining itself. Next slide. God, these are horrible when they're in color. It has something to do with that projector though, because the color when we print these out in color and the color that's up on that screen are not the same thing. And so we think that the bulb that's on there has a yellow tint to it or something, because it's not the color that when you print it out. But in that reddish, brownish color, it has independent contractors, which is 8,141. The blue should be facility licenses, which you totally can't even see because the lettering's in black, is 5,025. The freelance is a good color. Maybe we'll just have them just all to like really soft colors with black lettering. It is 627. Next slide. Here's your depressing one. So your cash balance is pretty much gone. So we took out the discount for renewing online, the $5 discount for renewing online for practitioners every 2 years. That went away. The discount for facility and independent contractors renew online also went away. And during the 2021 legislative session, there will be a bill that addresses your fees because your balance needs to be over $1.5 million. And you are currently at, well, as of March 2nd, 210. So the fees most likely will go up. We will have discussions on what fees will go up and for how much they will go up. The intent is to not, the original goal when we set the fees that currently are in place right now is for new students straight out of school to be less expensive than for those individuals who've been working for 2 years, which your license is good for 2 years. So at that 2-year renewal would be a different rate than your original license because of the trying to make sure that the students could, afford to get licensed to begin with, especially with having to take as many exams as several of them do. So trying to keep that a cost, the cost associated with the expense of actually doing the item, whether it's taking an exam or filing an application, and then have it, so most likely the business, can't guarantee anything, we'll see what happens when it comes through legislative session, but most likely what will happen is your business licenses will go up at a higher proportion than your actual practitioner licenses will.
Yes. So this is Amber, and does this have to do with how we got restructured?
Yes, it does. Okay. It has to do with us being an independent agency and now being under the Oregon Health Authority, and the way the cost allocation works as being part of that. Because as we grow, as the office grows, we keep getting more new boards and programs added to us, but yet we physically, like the number of staff and our rent obviously hasn't changed, but yet we keep getting new programs. That keeps getting divvied out between the current 16, there was going to be 17, but legislation didn't finish. So that allocation, we reallocate every July. So every July, we go and look at the allocations. So this is where so shared assessment, and I know this is for you in the back, it's hard to read, but you can get a copy offline, but down the bottom it says shared assessment. Shared assessment is anything that is shared between all 16 boards and programs. So for instance, rent. Rent is shared and divvied out between all 16 boards and programs based on the number of licensees each board and program has. So back in 2017, which again is so it's July of 16 through June of 17, your percentage, meaning the Board of Cosmetology, had to cover 91.6% of rent. So even though currently you're down to 88, just barely over 88%, because we keep growing, the boards keep adding to us. So even though that assessment has gone down, the proportion of that assessment going down and how much the increase it has cost to us to be a part of the health authority is not covering itself. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So your assessment has gone down. So even your assessment for examinations, you used to be at 94% of all the exams administered in this office were for cosmetology individuals. Now you're down to 91%. And then examinations, inspections. So all throughout Oregon, all the inspections that we did, you paid for 91.7% of that. That is down to 89.2%. So even though your percentages are going down, which means it costs you less to be part of this office, the office has changed and it's gotten new boards and new programs, so more people are paying the bills. The cost of the office, being a part of the health authority, has gone up more than that. Does that make sense?
So this number, where is that shown? Like what is costing us more? Like,
well, it's shown right, and I know this gets more
I just mean like,
but right here. So here's your revenues. You can see your revenues. Your revenues, this marked you, this is a portion of a year, it's not a full year. But you can look there. Your revenues are staying pretty consistent. Look at your expenditures though. So that's where the difference is going.
But it's going down.
Yeah, no, your expenditures are going up.
But
You
2020.
went from 3.6 to 4.
But 2020 says 2.
Right, but it's only a portion.
Okay.
We're not done with the year yet.
Okay. All right.
It's not a full year.
I'm looking at 2.5. So for me, that's going down.
And here's your balances. So this is where we want you to be. We're comfortable with this. We are not comfortable with this.
So we're making this up by
asking the way the office's model works is the office as a whole cannot go in the negative. A board can go in the negative and maintain a negative balance, but the whole, which means all 16, added together, netted together, has to be in the positive. So when the Board of Cosmetology goes into the negative, that means other boards are supporting the expenses of the Board of Cosmetology.
So can we ask the office that we're under to re-look at our numbers to see what we're contributing? Because my concern is that we're passing it on to, practitioners and like the cost. So because what we're saying now is that we're going to raise fees for, so do we have the power to ask the new office that we're in to look at the numbers again to see what our
contribution? That's what they're doing now, because they're the ones who have to go before the legislation and say this is what the fees are and what they need to be. I can give input, but the legislation is the one who ratifies fees. The legislators are the ones that say yes, these fees need to be this much in order to maintain this board. Yes, and I've had those conversations. One of the discussions that may occur when that happens is what did it cost prior to the health licensing office being a part of the Oregon Health Authority, and what are the pros and cons of that? So that'll be questions that the legislation could ask.
And can we contribute to that?
You can as individuals, not as board members.
As an office.
As an office, they will already have my answers to that.
Okay. Thanks.
Trying to be extremely transparent. It's not a pretty picture, but it's reality.
Yes.
Any questions?
I'm just wondering what us being a board, why is it costing us more now to be a part of them? Like, what extra are we paying them to do that wasn't done before, that now we have to contribute more? And like I said, I feel like we're passing it on to everyday Oregonians, and that's what I'm...
So it's not passed on to everyday Oregonians,
I mean,
it's passed on to licensees.
Licensed Oregonians.
Correct. So there's every month, there's an assessment that we get assessed. Every office under the Oregon Health Authority gets assessed, but there's an assessment. So there's shared services. And I kind of talked about this a little bit before. But a shared service is, say, HR, IT, payroll. Right. And they do shared services for Oregon Health Authority and for Department of Human Services. So there's two agencies that those shared services do. And so they do assessments out based on the number of, usually, kind of depends on what the service is. But it's usually based on how many employees that division has. But that's that assessment. So there's, like HR, payroll, IT, those are some of your basics. There's a whole lot more to it. There's communications, there's all kinds of,
So we had our own before, and now we're using...
Well, when we were an independent agency, we did it all in-house, or we used services from Department of Administrative Services.
Okay. And now we're using... Okay.
So there are certain things that went away, but then there are certain things that did not. So we used to have like a monthly bill, well, it was quarterly, but it was state government service charges. So those are all the charges that DAS, which is Department of Administrative Services, would then send us an invoice for that we had to pay. Well, now they send that, but they send it to the Oregon Health Authority, and we pay a portion of it. So it gets really complex, and I'm not trying to hide anything, so if you have questions, you're welcome to ask, and I'll answer it the best I can, but yes, there's lots of assessments, and they're not going away.
Right.
So that's where we're at.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
This is Tracy. Do you see benefit as these changes have occurred? Does the office, are you seeing it as beneficial?
Can you answer that?
Can you answer that? I don't know. I mean...
There are benefits, yes. I would say there are some benefits.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So on the phone, does anybody have any questions before we move on?
Nope.
No?
I don't.
Okay. So let's move on to... My materials are not the same as that. So let's go to the regulatory report. Oh, I went way, yeah, see, regulatory is not even in there. There's no regulatory report in there.
It's not supposed to be there on the agenda. They're supposed to be below me. I don't know what happened.
Hold on, let me double check. Okay, let's, Maria, we're following the agenda, so I'm sorry, but can you go past all of Sammy's stuff to the regulatory report? And so for those of you who are on the phone, the agenda has the regulatory report. The agenda has it before policy, however, in the materials, it's after policy. So you're going to want to flip till you get to the regulatory report, and then Bob's going to speak.
It's Bob Bothwell for the record. Currently on the regulatory report, we've got 4 biennium. I'm happy to tell you that next time we'll only have 3, hopefully 2. I have the 4th one on here to show you that in 13-15, we went from 387 complaints, and they've all been closed. Currently in the 15-17 biennium, we went 305, and there's only 5 left open. 17-19, we had 383 complaints, 79 remain open. And currently we've had 117 complaints in the 19-21 biennium, and 86 of those remain open.
And you'll see on the agenda, we do have item number 7. We'll get into a little bit more detail. Okay? All right, so on the phone, flip back now to the policy report. We're going to go through some of the FAQs that are out there. Sammy?
Yes, so I put these FAQs out with the help of Heather, the legal counsel. She helped me with these, and Joanna. If you haven't seen them, I've emailed everybody them. I'll be emailing out them again, probably next week, just to make sure everybody or surely has them. So everyone update your email today, and you will re-get these in your email next week. But they basically just go through the scope of practice for how you kind of delineate, this was chemical peels, how to delineate what you can use chemical peels superficial and very superficial, how that's defined, how much training and education that you need, and just kind of basically going through it as a Q&A rather than just a bunch of words on paper. So hopefully it's helpful. Same type of Q&A for dermaplaning, tells you what dermaplaning is, what you use for it, how many hours you need, and then I believe there's also some about client records. Question 3. Yeah, client records. And then House Bill 4016, Sylvia already kind of went over, so I don't need to go over that. We're in limbo. But that was the bill. You can see it went through all the committees, as Helene said, when she made her comments, all the way through House Healthcare, House Rules, Ways and Means Subcommittee, Full Ways and Means, all of the do pass. Toot, 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 toot. Now we wait. So, I mean, you can see, so, but Sylvia already kind of went over that. That's all I got. Cynthia.
Any questions before we go on quite so fast? So I know you've seen these Q&As before. We talked about doing them. Does anybody have any questions on them? No? Okay. So Maria, can you go back to the beginning of this? So like what Sammy was saying, here's where it talks about, it was moving all along and everything, and everybody was agreeing to pass. Yeah. Mind you, we got up to, I do believe, 21 amendments, but the bill did not include aesthetics and advanced aesthetics terminology. So there was a lot of things going on. So the bill was a mixture of, I think, 5 different topics, not just cosmetology or, aesthetics and advanced aesthetics. So a lot of people weren't quite sure.
You can click on the blue 4016C if you want to go out and see it.
Yeah. So it was moving along quite well, and it had a lot of amendments. And so if anybody ever has a question on how that, well, up until now, how that process works, you're welcome to contact us. We can explain to you what, most people don't even know what Ways and Means mean. Ways and Means is a different group. It's still legislators, but it's a group that goes in and looks at any kind of bill that will have a financial impact. So just because aesthetics and advanced aesthetics were in there, you have to look at the whole entire bill. So if there's anything in that whole entire bill that triggers it needing to go into Ways and Means, and that's why it went in there. The other part of that is there's certain steps that you can put in place to try to prevent a bill from not meeting a certain deadline. So bills will have a deadline. It has to be either, if it starts on the House side, it has to be through a work session by this date, and then it has to be approved by this date, and then it needs to go over to the Senate side, and it has to have a work session by this date, and so there's all these deadlines. And sometimes you can move it into a Ways and Means, which doesn't necessarily bypass that date, but it extends that date. So they were trying really hard to keep everything active, hoping that the Republicans would come back and finish stuff, and then that didn't occur. So like I said, there's a whole lot of unknowns, but there wasn't, far as I know, and I was very well kept informed of the bill, there was nothing wrong with this section that addressed aesthetics and advanced aesthetics, and it had nothing to do with us doing something wrong on why it didn't go forward.
Yeah, I listened to every hearing and work session. It was all good.
So again, in limbo, don't know. If you think about 255, I think there's, last I heard, 255 bills that did not go forward. And so in those are bills that relate to victims of the flooding that occurred in there, or victims of the fires that occurred. There's a whole lot of big state things.
Foster care stuff.
Foster care. There's a whole lot of stuff that is just not going anywhere. And nobody quite knows what to do with all that, because some of them are victims that can't afford, like counties can't afford to fix the flooding issues, all the damage from the flooding. So I know that they're working on trying to figure out somehow of addressing bills, and I don't know if that means they're only going to address bills that relate to emergencies, or they're going to address every bill. So I don't know what to tell people. It's never occurred before. So the best I can say is to go out and start watching your legislative page on a regular basis and watching the news about it. Other than that, this never happened. We have never been in this situation. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Amber. Quick question about where that puts us in the event that the legislature decides to or whatever they do.
Reconvene.
Reconvene, that's the word. Where does that put us as far as like our responsibility to the petition? Is that a question I can ask?
Oh, you can ask any question you want. They're two separate things. So the petition, officially, the petition has nothing to do with the bill. The bill would have fixed the wording that the petition is also trying to fix. That makes sense? So you have two different things that are trying to go on. Well, legislation has stopped. That doesn't mean the petition stops. You still have to address it. One of the things that it potentially could do is, the statute's what the statute is. You can't, we in this room have to work with the statute that we currently have.
But if this fixes the issue, because if it's simply the definition, then does that make the petition null, or do we just say, in this has already been fixed, therefore this is our ruling?
So the petition is to the rule that went into effect January 1. The rule that went into effect January 1 is based on the statute that is in place right now.
Right.
If and when the statute ever gets changed, then the rules will have to be changed because they won't align with statute.
Right.
So they're, logically they're connected, but they're two separate issues.
Interesting.
Make sense? Sort of.
So this is Heather. Even if the bill were to go in place, you would still need to make a decision on the rule petition because it's separate. Now, that may change what your decision would be on the rule petition, or it may not, but you'd still have to make a decision. So you'd still need to meet on that April 6th date to make a decision on the rule petition. But because we don't have the scenario where the bill is going to be in place right now. If that does come into place, or if there is some sort of option that happens before April 6th, then we would let you know so that you could have an informed decision for April 6th.
Okay? Got it. All right. Let's go to natural hair care. Corinthia had an update for you.
So the natural hair care training module is not included in the materials on, but they will be added. It's 160 slides, so they are on your laptop, so you can view those if you wish to do so. I'll just give a summary update. During the 2019 legislative session, shampoo and conditioning were added to natural hair care, so this training module has been added to include that. The other thing, in reviewing the training module, which I noticed was not in here, which you have statutory authority for, is wiggery. So I updated that as well. The examination to support the addition of shampoo and conditioning and wiggery will be added and should be there mid-July. The other thing, does anyone have any questions on that? The other thing I have is in regards to the January rule changes that affected the hair aesthetics and Oregon laws and rules examination. There were minimal changes that had to be made. I think there was one question removed from nail technology and 2 from aesthetics and Oregon laws and rules. So those were removed to support the rules, so candidates were not taking questions that didn't reflect what the current rules are. That's all I have.
Okay. So we're going to go... I'm going to ask you guys a question. So I know you guys have approved the agenda, but I'm suggesting you may want to have discussion about changing things around slightly. Item number 7 is going to take some time. Item number 7 means everybody in the audience who is not staff is going to have to leave the room. They may not want to sit out in the lobby for the amount of time item number 7 is going to take you. So you could add another public interested party's feedback prior to doing an item number 7 in case anybody would like to make a comment on anything that they've heard today. Your choice. Okay. Or you could leave it as item number 9, and if they want to say anything, they have to wait. Or they could do a written comment of some sort, but it won't be a public comment on anything. Gotcha. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's kind of your choice on if you want to do that, because like I said, number 7 is going to take some time, and They can't listen to number 7. Number 8 is going to be very, very short.
Okay.
Number 10 is going to be talking about what's on your next agenda.
Okay.
So,
You want to take 7?
so I would, if you guys don't mind, I would suggest adding another interested parties feedback now before we get to item number 7 in case anybody would like to comment. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yeah. So on your blue, there's on the second page, there's that, you have to read that script again.
So at this time, the Board of Cosmetology will hear public interested parties' feedback. Members of the audience, please wait until you have been recognized by the chair. Once recognized, please state your name and affiliation to the board for the record.
So this is where we would have like a normal public comment, not about the rules. We've already addressed that. If you want to make another comment about the rules, I'm not going to stop you, but that wasn't the intent. So she's going to read off of the other list, which is the everybody must sign list on whether or not you want public comment. If she reads your name and you don't want to comment, you can just say no comment, thank you, move on. When she gets through the end, if anybody who wrote no, they do not want to comment, now wants to comment, we will give you a time to comment, okay?
But these are not a time for questions.
It is not a debate. If you have a question that you want the board to address or the office to address, it needs to be in writing and prior to a board meeting.
Okay.
We will not be giving answers on the fly.
So I'm just going to read the names.
Well, just all you have to do is read on the side, only people
Courtney,
who wrote yes. See, no. Oh, there's yes. So,
Elaine. Yes, that's me again. You won't get rid of me this easily.
But you're Elaine.
And Lolis. I just kind of wanted to let you know that we have been advised that you as a board have the authority to repeal and stay Rule 20 that were in effect January 2020, or at least, agree to not enforce those rules until we fix and we have this amendment through. So you do not have to follow any other's opinion. This is you as a board. You do have the authority to repeal this Rule 67, and this is what our petition is asking you to do. And after that, it kind of starts the process of discussing everything again. It gives us some time till this amendment goes through, and it allows everybody to work. So just wanted to say you are an entity and you can make up your own mind. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rhonda? She leave?
Okay.
So I have Elaine again. Are you again? No.
Okay. What did you say?
Let's say yes over here. So Tracy?
No, not at this time.
Okay. And then Susan?
I'm just going to, it's Susan Eldridge. I just want to reiterate and support what Ellen said, that it is unusual, but you guys, you on the board, do have the authority to be able to repeal this, which will give many of us time and be able to go back to work, to continue to support our families. But you do have the authority to do that, and we really hope that you make that decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Leanne?
I won't cry this time, I promise. It's Leanne Bird. Sammy, you communicate with us all the time, and I don't know how you do it constantly, but you are always answering our questions and communicating with us. But when you mentioned that you have this database of email addresses, I have to disagree a little bit. We're not getting your emails, and there has to be a better way of communication between us because, we have very few people in here left.
Your licensing record.
Then how come I get, and I know you can't answer
Go
questions.
check.
I did, I checked actually again last night.
Okay.
And I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying there's got to be something else that's happening because we're not getting your communication, and that's how we got this far. And I appreciate you guys so much for listening to us today. But we wouldn't have come here in this amount, in this mass, and descended upon you if we were coming to the other meetings when they were writing this stuff. But we're just not getting your communication. And I don't necessarily think that's your fault because, like I said, you answer our questions all day long. You are always trying to help us clarify this. So I know your hope is to get it clarified as well, so you get fewer emails. Everything I see that we, because we aren't getting your emails. So we're on a Facebook post trying to share information, and that's oftentimes inaccurate and people's interpretations, and then they're emailing Sandy again. But all their communication is coming, to us as a group. We're telling each other what's going on, and I just really want to reiterate that I think that we deserve better than that, especially if it's something that's going to, affect our livelihood and the public health. I mean, we just need a better form of communication, and I did double check that email list, and it is correct, and I'm not getting it. I've checked my spam folder, everything, and I know I'm not alone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
And then Ella?
Ella Aguilar. I just kind of want to reiterate what was being said here in that you do have the power to enforce what needs to be enforced at whatever times. In the meantime, while we wait for what's happening with legislature, which obviously is nobody's fault, this is something that nobody could have foreseen, but in figuring out what processes need to happen in order to have this repealed, we do have the power right here to decide that in the meantime, people can still work and make their incomes, schools can still function on the curriculum that has been set forth for the next year. Because for us, we've got one person to go through for higher education. Every school, one person handling all of that approval process, and it takes months. It takes months to redo curriculum. So that is what I would be asking, is that we decide to do something right now, in the meantime, for all these other things that we can't control, because we can't control this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that everybody had a yes?
Yes.
So did anybody write a no that now wants a yes?
I didn't have a note, but I didn't put anything down.
Okay, please come up to I know we've already done this once, but
I
you got to do it again. You
did.
can sit there, you got to say your name.
All right, my name is Kimberly Bedore. So this isn't about a machines question. This is about a scope of practice for aesthetics, that popular services of brow tinting and now brow laminating are out there. Brow laminating, for anybody who isn't familiar with that, it's using the same product that they use for lash lifts, and now they're putting it on brows and making them go in the up position, so it makes it look like you have fuller brows. So it's now become a really popular service that some estheticians are now using. So if you've been to nail salons, or if you've been to brow bars, or you've been to see your local esthetician, they're brow tending out there, and it's not in the scope of service, scope of practice for us. And I am, kind of speaking for all my estheticians that come through my school. These are services that they're doing possibly even illegally out there, and I'd like it to be something that we consider and look at it as, is it something that could be allowed in our scope of practice? Is there something that the schools can safely teach these things to make sure they do? Because we teach hairstylists to lift and color. Can we do that with a esthetician as well? Because the services are being performed out there. A lot of people would be fined all over the place if you guys were enforcing it. So I would just wanted you to look into that. And there may be other people in the room who have like a similar question, because that's come out in emails the last few days of what brow services are allowed. Is it just temporary hair removal, or can you tint the brows? Can you perm the brows to be in the up position? What are the things that are allowed? And so I just wanted a clarification, because I think sometimes, depending on who you ask, you can get a different answer. Thank you.
Anybody else change their mind? Oh, geez Louise. Okay, come on up.
I'll be quick. I'm sorry. I wasn't planning on speaking today.
It's okay.
I wanted to elaborate on the brow tinting issue.
Name.
Olivia Hawthorne. Hello.
Hi.
Just on the brow tinting issue and the brow lamination, I'm here sort of representing my colleagues that couldn't make it here today, that perform these services and weren't aware that it was, I guess, out of the scope of practice. And I guess I would want everyone to consider the fact that we are allowed to perform these services on eyelashes. Brows, I would think, would be significantly less risky in terms of applying chemicals to the face. And it seems like it's basically just a technicality and a missing word is what it comes down to. Because it says that you're allowed to perform the services on eyelashes, but not specifically on eyebrows. So something to consider. It's a huge service right now. I have friends and colleagues that specialize in eyebrows. And it's literally like half their business. So thank you. Speaking on their behalf. Thank you.
Still getting on deliverables.
Yeah,
On Friday.
Whichever one goes for. Don't matter. What are you?
Hi, my name is Olivia Nelson. And two things. I wanted to know if it would be possible for us to be notified by mail as opposed to email. And second, I've been licensed for 15 years, so it's been a while since I've been in school. But it seems to me that brow tinting is taught in school. And I believe on the Health Licensing Office on the cosmetology website, it has resources for exams, and it says brow and lash tinting on there. So it's just a disconnect, and it is a really big money maker. So I would just like that to be considered. Thank you.
Okay.
I wasn't planning on speaking today.
It's all right. Name? Your name?
My name is Angela Barnum. I'm representing quite a few SDs that couldn't make it today. So just kind of going over what you guys were going over and some of the statistics you were saying. There's 15,000 estheticians who are licensed. You guys are, as our board, we're turning to you. This is the first time that Oregon has walked out. And we're kind of all left with what's going on. We're doing everything that we were supposed to do, legislatively. So it is a time, I'm here to ask you to let me do my job. I'm here as my board. You guys are our peers. You guys are in the industry. To please look at what you are capable of doing. You guys are capable of grandfathering us in. You guys are capable of repealing this. You guys are capable of just stopping everything until we get this figured out. That is why I'm here. I need you. This is the first time I've had to come down here and talk to my board that we need you. It's time to step up. It's time to figure out what your power is. You guys came on the board to represent us. We need you, and we need you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else change their mind? Again, thank you. You have until the 23rd to write an email to Sammy, make sure she has everything. If you feel like most people get nervous and they think that they said something or think that they forgot something, just email Sammy. You're golden, okay? Okay.
Hey, Sylvie?
Yes.
This is Regner. I had a quick question. So, I was under the impression, and maybe I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that once the petition had been submitted that we must follow the prescribed timeline, and that even if we wanted to make a decision today, we have to wait until the closure of the public comment period. Like, we have to wait until the timeline progresses, correct? Like, we couldn't do anything today even if we wanted to, legally speaking. Is that correct?
You are 100% correct. So right now, the way that the what's that book called? The little book?
AG manual.
The AG manual. And it's a public document, that AG manual. You don't want to purchase it, but I haven't gone to yet. So there's very clear instructions on how to deal with a rule petition, and one of them is that it has to be open for public comment for a certain amount of time, which is what we're doing right now, and allowing till the 23rd. And then the board has to then review and take into consideration all of those comments. So that's what the next meeting, which the special meeting that we've now scheduled, will be to address that timeline. And then also there's in there the timeline of a written response to the petition. So all that is in place right now, and that's what we're doing, and we cannot legally stray from that process in any way, shape, or form, otherwise it nullifies the process. Does that make sense? So yes, you are 100% correct.
I just wanted to let everyone in the audience know that both myself and I'm sure all the other board members, we do appreciate you coming, and we did hear you. And I think we would all agree that It's something that we would like to revisit as soon as we can. But I don't want you to leave thinking that because we didn't vote today, that we didn't hear you and we didn't take it to heart, because I know I certainly did. But our hands are also kind of tied by process, and we have to follow it, even if we don't necessarily agree with the length of the process. So thank you for coming, and we did hear you.
We did hear you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move
There's a
on. So for one, somebody else changed their mind again. You guys are not, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Did somebody else want us to make a comment?
Yeah.
Okay, come on up to that.
Yes, hi, my name's Sandy Follett. And I just wanted to I was going to stay silent, but I wanted to restate to the board on this process that I was looking on that you sent out the article, the items here, and what started the whole process was a definition of an FDA-approved device, and this is where we all came from. But if you continue, I'm reading here that it says the practice of advanced non-ablative aesthetics is defined in ORS 676.630 and is a procedure that uses a laser or other device registered with the FDA, which started this, the definition of an FDA device. But the sentence continues to state, for non-ablative procedures performed on hair or skin. And if you look on the internet, you look for the definition of non-ablative, it's always associated with laser. There is a definition for ablative, which is kind of nebulous and has been changing throughout time. But when it's used for the surgical, it's either with melting or evaporation. So we know that the association with that terminology with the advanced board was really to protect the consumer using heat in the dermis, because these devices that have that sort of radio frequency or laser capacity with photon development and all that have the capacity to harm the skin. Secondly, when that FDA device definition got extrapolated, it was supposed to be for medical devices, I would believe, and now we've been put over to these devices that have been used safely worldwide in aesthetics for years, and they do not heat the dermis, not any of them. Maybe there's a little heat from high frequency on the surface, discussed, but nothing nearly that would come anywhere close to being dangerous to the consumer. So I think that it's just, for me, it's been a mixture of apples and oranges that do not relate to one another, and I have no idea why the domain of the esthetician has always been the epidermis, and the medical side was going into the dermis. And scientifically, the epidermis junction has become now the big focal point. But the idea is that now we're up on the stratum corneum, and we have lost all the capacity for those other layers. And also, your ruling has left it to the manufacturer's description. And we know that marketing can go either way. They can say things that aren't really happening. And so we are subject to just these definitions that don't make a lot of sense sometimes. So I'd like to I hope that you'll take the discussion back to what the meaning of advanced, what they really meant by that FDA-approved device to do non-ablative procedures. It really had nothing to do with what was in the scope of practice and these other devices that aesthetics has used for years. That's my comment.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, last call. Anybody else change your mind? You sure? Okay, email Sammy if you think of something later. We're going to move on to item number 7, and then we're going to take a break and be in executive session. We will come back out to regular session. If you would desire to hang out, you're welcome to. We will come see if you're still here.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So you should have a script that has a number 7 on the top, a white. I know all your stuff's been moved down.
The Board of Cosmetology will now meet in executive session pursuant of ORS 192.660 and ORS 676.590 for the purpose of considering information related to investigation cases exempt from public disclosure at 12:39 p.m. on March 9, 2020. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are required to leave the room. Are there any representatives of the news media in the audience?
No.
Great. We're now going to be in executive session.
Okay.
You ready? The Board of Cosmetology will now exit executive session and reconvene open session at 1:44 p.m. No final decisions were made, no votes were taken in executive session. Members of the audience are welcome to return. Representatives of the media may once again report all board discussions and actions.
Will somebody go check the lobby to see if anybody is hanging out still?
Does Maria need that one?
Sylvie?
Yes.
Maria works for me.
If we wanted to do something about
Not
that
Sandy.
rule, like before 90
Not
days
Sandy.
or whatever, like, is there anything we could do? Like, could we vote to not enforce it, or like?
What was the?
Okay, so you need to bring that up under item number 10, please.
Okay.
Is there anybody still here?
No.
Lobby's empty? Okay. All right, Maria, have you switched over? Okay, so we're back on our session. We are on item number 8. It is proposed that inspection number 241240 to issue a civil penalty in the amount of $2,500 for the failure to cooperate, in addition to the other violations already written in rules, and also to give Bob the authority to negotiate a settlement agreement.
This is Amber. I so move.
Perfect. And is there a second?
I'll second. This is Tracy.
I will now call roll. Michelle? Aye. Ragnar?
Aye.
Amber?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Hint?
Aye.
Harold?
Okay, Harold has exited the room, but it still passes because you have quorum.
Excellent.
All right, we will move on to item number 9, which is public interested parties feedback. And I do believe all the public and interested parties have left for the day. So we will move on to item number 10, which is other board business. So we do have the next board meeting scheduled for April 6th as a special board meeting to address the rule petition. I know that there was a lot of emotions that were stated today, and I know that there's a lot of desire to do an immediate fix. However, there's a process that needs to be done, and it's very formal, and we need to not skip any of the steps. So Ragnar, did you have any questions about that?
Well, I was just curious if I'm not a lawyer, so I don't speak legally, but is there can we do like a temporary stay of that rule where we agree to not enforce it until we've had the formal discussion on April 6th? That way people can at least continue to work until we have the actual time when we vote.
So I can say that nobody has been cited since January 1 for breaking that rule. So when we get to April 6th, you're going to have a lot of discussion about the pros, the cons, what you can and can't do, and if you do A, then this, or B, then this. So that's going to be a lot of discussion that will be had on that April 6th meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions on the rule? It's not plugged into anything. Is your tablet dead? You don't need it anymore.
Okay.
Another thing that I wanted to talk about, so there were several comments made during the public comment periods that aren't necessarily specific to the rule petition. So there were several things I took notes of about the communication, the lack of communication, how we're not doing our part. And you heard me try to address it about the whole, please let us know your email address, please let us know.
Hello?
Oh, it's muted. You muted him.
Oh, you muted him.
I think that he hung up on.
Oh, no. Hit mute.
No,
You're there,
you're muted you.
Sorry, we accidentally touched mute.
We had a party for two for a minute.
We heard you.
Yeah, we We can hear you, you just couldn't hear us. But again, the comments about how we don't communicate, we try as hard as we can, like Sammy said.
I think that you guys do a good job, and I think they need to check their junk mail folder or just read their emails, because I'll admit it, sometimes it just looks like junk and you don't want to read it. But I get the emails like 3 times because I've put in old email addresses too, so I don't know how they're not getting them.
Yeah, and it's just, and the public comment part is so hard to not try to respond. You know, it's human nature.
You guys get one in your facility email? You should have each got one in your facility email.
I got
you
one.
have one.
I got it.
Got what?
Well, you
I'm
guys
sorry.
really don't count because you get
What do
board
you mean?
member
What do you
one,
mean?
facility
What was that?
one.
But I got a separate
The email from Sammy about
Yeah,
all the
I get
stuff.
all your emails, yeah. So that's why and I would tend to agree, but can they go to our website and pull that information?
Yes. All of our information is always available. We do not live in a bubble at all.
They call me daily.
I was gonna, I've asked this is Tracy. I've asked this question before, actually at one of the, work groups, because you hear this complaint often that communication, and I specifically want to know, like, what are the avenues of communication? Is it just the email? Is it listed on the website? Like, what exactly are all of the different areas that they can access to get the information?
So this is Sylvie. It kind of depends on what information you're asking for.
Okay.
So if you want to be on the interested parties list, that can be anybody. I want to be notified anytime cosmetology or Board of Advanced Aesthetics is doing anything. I am on that interested parties list. And here's because you can fill out a form for it. Here's the form. Here's all the things that I want to know, and for this board, this board, and this board, and here's how I want it. So you can tell us.
Okay.
So that, But then, so we use that.
We send out an email to all licensees.
Sure, and it will bounce back to me. I won't get it.
For the interested party mailing list.
It's on my list.
So what happened was on Friday, we opened public comment for this, right? So on Friday, Sammy sent it out to everybody on the interested parties list. Every email address that we have in our database for an esthetician, every email we have in our database for every facility. Not me. Not everybody in advance, but not everybody gives us an email address for one. So, and then if your email address is no longer valid and we get it bounced back, Sammy, how many did you get bounced back?
Oh, hundreds. I'm still getting them on Monday afternoon.
But you gave a
deleted
number.
like 20.
You said out of the 15,000
There was like
licensees,
8,000.
only 8 have.
Only 12,000. Out of 15,000 that we have documented estheticians, only 8,000 have an email address in our database.
Do we have a Facebook page?
Oh, okay. So
Because people are so social media
savvy,
that
wannabe, right?
even
I get that. That's why we did it.
But you do have one.
We had one.
Oh.
And then it also comes down to government has a different set of standards that they have to abide by when it comes to public records. So you've heard me talk this conversation before. Government has to keep, that's why I said don't send me anything, because I have to keep it forever.
Yeah.
Remember when I have those conversations? When you send me all this paperwork, I have to keep it forever. So when we started, we realized, because people started to communicate through Facebook, right? Hey, what about this meeting? And I thought you were doing this. And and so we start responding. Well, now you have to archive and keep all that. And it was getting to the point where we would have to hire somebody to do Facebook and Facebook only all day, every day, because of the archiving and how we have to keep every single thing. Every comment, everything. So even if we were to go in and delete a comment that somebody had made, we still have to keep record of the fact that it was there and that we deleted it. It just got into, I'm like, oh, this, I get why we created it. It was to help make sure,
Sure.
I get it, everybody's, your younger generation
Yeah,
use
we're
Facebook
off of
anymore.
it. We're done.
But most people use Facebook, and I get that's how we were reaching these people. But then when it came down to, in order to have a Facebook account, here's all the things that you have to do as a state government. And I'm like, that it is not worth the benefit that we were getting, and the amount of time it would do to maintain that Facebook page.
And there's no listserv that's kind of in between.
I'm working on a listserv.
Okay, I was going to say something in between, so it's like...
What is a listserv?
It's like
a list
in
of-
between
Yeah.
social media and in between social media and email. So
Okay.
it's like you join it and then you're on there.
So
and
I
you
will
get
put together a
everything.
listserv with
Okay.
everybody in our database, and
Okay.
then I think on the side is me and Nate will create one where you can go and sign up. But until we get that one that you can sign up, we'll just start sending, people are gonna be blasted with emails.
Yeah.
Prepare.
And you'll still have people say, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
It will always exist as a problem.
It just is what it is.
This is Michelle. The email that went out on Friday saying we're going to have public discussion, I think that's too short for people. Don't you think? If it's
No, it was out on Friday, so as of Friday, we have opened public comment. The public comment
okay,
for
gotcha.
this,
Okay,
that's been out there.
Okay, gotcha.
No, the official open public
date
comment.
was on
Right,
this-
and that's the one that goes from Friday at whatever
To the 23rd.
time to the 23rd at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's that window.
Do
'Cause
we
wanted
tell
to make
them
sure
that?
it was open? Yes, there was
At the
no
very
letter.
beginning.
No.
I mean, at the very beginning. So once we decided, like, we have, what is it, 90 days? Do we
to respond.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, like, can something goes out that says this is our timeline so that people know, like, this is when we plan to, like, have everything, so that there is a schedule of this is what's going to happen. Like,
the
I have a
communication.
schedule. I will send that out.
so that's what I mean, like, putting that out to the public. Can we give the
This is a very
public?
rare, unique situation. When was the last time you had a rule petition?
Never,
Yeah. So most of them don't even know how it works. I mean, you guys didn't even know how it works
Yeah.
until we had a conversation today. So most people don't understand how it works. And so that's part of that. You have to be involved in your profession in order, I mean, I can't force feed you the information. You have to be involved. And so when we sent that out, it says, okay, we're going to open a public comment because we wanted to open it prior to today so that everybody who talked today is part of the record. So now, so we wanted it in between your board meeting, but long enough to where you could still receive written comment and have to meet again, and we have to draft a letter, and we have to respond, and it has to go to legislators. I mean, there's this whole process to it. So that's what we put out in that letter on Friday.
But what I'm suggesting is because people are like, well, we just learned about this 2 days ago. Like, it's all filtering in. Like, once we get a petition or whatever the situation is, now we have a timeline where we know things have to happen and making that public record. Like, now we received a petition, whether it's by email or listserv. And so these are the next steps so that people then, I mean.
Oh, you mean that, like, right when you get it?
Like, when we know now these are our steps as a board or as a, that then everybody knows. Like, okay, a petition was received. This is our 90-day
game plan, timeline.
And then
for
you can't-
sake of transparency,
it goes on our website. It goes out to email, and then if you didn't know.
Yeah, we've communicated, because that was the biggest thing, Mrs. Michelle. Everybody, I didn't communicate, you're horrible at communicating, but it's like, we could at least
make an effort to try to let them know what our calendar is, at least the things that we can communicate. I mean, I just think it's the best we can do. I think we should do the best we can do, is all I'm
absolutely.
saying.
100% agree with you.
Yeah, this is Harold, but my only issue is, what do we deem to be appropriate or relevant for them when it comes to how we set a timeline? We can't do a timeline for everything, can't?
No,
is that
but
what you're
stuff
proposing?
like this we have to by law, right?
Right.
Well, right. But what I'm saying, I'm just trying to narrow it down, because you're saying a timeline for just about every initiative
No,
we have.
I
or is
mean
it
things like
things
this.
like this. Okay.
Where
well,
it's
yeah.
like a rule change or
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
okay, so now we know we
We
have
can
to
do
do
that.
this, then I mean, that way you're not doing every single time. But I think
Absolutely.
for stuff like this, I can understand the frustration of like, oh, I just found out, whether it's my mistake or not,
Sure.
I just found out, and now I have 2 days to try to figure out how I'm going to get to Salem and all the other
Right,
stuff.
right.
But if we know, say a petition happens again, okay, it goes out to everybody, a petition happened, we have 90 days, these are our steps, this is where we're planning to have the first, whatever.
Oh, we just lost somebody. Ragnar, are you still on there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Hin?
Hin must have logged out.
Okay.
We'll hear if she gets back on. So she's logged off at 1:58.
Okay.
We still have quorum, so we're good. All right, so we'll absolutely work on that. I think, the communication's always a hard one. It's, but we only have the, email addresses that we have.
Yeah, we have 15,000 people, somebody's going to feel like they didn't get it.
Always. So another thing I wanted to talk about is there she is. Is she back on?
Hi, Jen. Yes, I'm back.
All right, and she logged back in at 1:59. So the other thing that I think that we're going to have to work on, which might cause some more conversations, is some FAQs on brow services. So, we keep getting questions, and this is where you heard me say I will not answer a question on the fly. There's always a lot more to it, and we're not going to answer a specific person's question. We will answer a practice clarification for all individuals.
You mean the brow bar and the brow tending and
laminating?
Laminating that
Somebody
they were
asked a
talking
question
about.
somewhere on social media.
I'm like,
And the
okay.
floodgates open.
Yes.
On Friday.
Yeah, so one of the things that I want to say is just because somebody has always done something or has always been okay doesn't mean that it should stay okay, for one. And things change. The science changes. The things that people use changes. The definition for your aesthetics has not changed in a long time.
2005, I think.
Which it was going to change if that bill passed. But that has not changed in a really long time. Doesn't mean that everything in that definition that used to fit in that definition is still there. Because you cannot look at a statute by looking at one and only that one and not looking at anything else. Does that make sense? So I can't look at this definition of aesthetics and be okay with only looking at that. Right. I have to look at all these other things. I have to look at what's going on in the office. I have to look at what's going on over here in advanced aesthetics. And so, just to clarify, just because it's always been that way, there's so many factors that make it change. The downfall also with us really getting into the word by word by comma by word by comma of all these statutes, it's starting to clarify a few other things. And when it says specifically in your definition of aesthetics, eyelashes, it means eyelashes. Does not mean anything other than eyelashes. And just because you want it to say something other than eyelashes does not mean it says anything other than eyelashes. Does that make sense? So I think we're going to have to do a Q&A on brow services, because there's still in aesthetics the temporary hair removal. And there's ways you can remove hair without using an FDA device that is temporary. So we're going to have to clarify. So again, that's going to come down to the office getting the Z. You're like, oh. So we're going to work on that.
Can you guys maybe...
What?
Like, we're going to want to clarify what medical device means, too, because that came up both when we talked about it.
Yeah, that's...
Here.
Oh, yeah. We've got all kinds of things we need to clarify.
I don't think that people understand that literally everything that's like filed with the FDA is considered a medical device. Like wooden spatulas are a medical device.
Right.
And one of the ladies made a comment. She's like, these aren't medical devices. They're only FDA. And it's like, okay, lady, but that means it is a medical device, even if it's not used medically. So we got to find some way to help people get that, because I feel like that trips a lot of people up.
Yeah, and I think we tried, because that I think we all got a little. As soon as you look at the FDA's website, I think we all just kind of glaze over and go, don't even know what, it's so confusing.
Overwhelming.
Yes. Thus, had the legislation continued on the path that they were originally on, things would be going a whole lot smoother at the moment. But that's not happening. So now we need to work on it, and we'll get there. We'll have more information for you. So I'm going to talk.
Did we really ban LED lights? Like I don't. Did we even do that?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Did we ban LED lights?
I didn't ban anything. Aesthetics has to use an FDA registered device. Thus, if Advanced Aesthetics is using it, then you can't use it in your standard. Remember, we've had this discussion.
Yes.
Let's not get into this anymore. Let's not get into it anymore.
So they think...
Thus, the Q&A that has the aesthetics and the advanced aesthetics, and we can talk about that some more if you need to, but.
Wow.
I just have a question, though. I'm wondering if Joanna and Heather can come the next time, because we had this discussion with her, and this is the one thing that we talked about, and we were like, let's just wait to see
Okay,
what
let's
happens.
not have discussions about what you have, your attorney.
I have it on my list.
Sorry. Well, my understanding of this was, when we discussed it, this might be a problem. And so I'm wondering if both Heather and Joanna could attend the next time we have this
They will be
discussion,
here.
so that we can kind of talk about why we even got to this point.
Yep.
That's
Where you're going, yes, yep.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all I want to say.
So let's move on. So let's talk about inspections a little bit. I think that there's some interest in how we do inspections and what the difference is between an investigator and an inspector. So there's some statutory definitions of how we do things. So an investigator goes by a formal complaint. I'm submitting a complaint. I went into a salon and it was dirty. Somebody was doing whatever, A, B, and C. That goes to an investigator. An inspector then follows a different set of rules and statutes because they are inspecting a facility. So they have a list that they go in, and I'm looking at this, and I cannot stray off that list. Does that make sense? An investigator can go based on what the complaint was, and then focus on that. So they're two completely different rules, two completely different statutes, and they kind of have different authority of what they can and can't do when they're in there. So out on our website, we have a self-inspection checklist. So it's like, hey, you're new, you just got a facility. How do I know what you guys are going to come look at? And so we'll send them a self-inspection checklist. It's also out on the website. And they can go print it themselves, and then they can educate all their employees. Here's what they're going to look at when they come in. So.
Public comment, open, aesthetics, on the.
Okay.
First thing you say.
You mimicking yourself?
So for the two of you on the phone, we're attempting to get our internet to work in here to bring up a self-inspection sheet so that people can see what it looks like. And so you kind of know that, see, it's not wanting to let us, well, it keeps thinking, there we go.
Spinning.
Now where it goes, okay. So here's what, so it kind of, ours is going to look very similar to this, but ours is going to have the actual rule number or the statute number of what violation. So this is so an individual can help their employees or their independent contractors or whoever understand what it is we're going to come in and we're going to be looking for. So this is, this is what we're looking for. So for those of you on the phone, it says facility, ensure that there is a facility license and the active through date, expiration date on the facility license is current. Again, as your facility owner, these are things that should be common sense to you, but this is what we're looking for. So we're instantly going to come in. Is your facility license posted in public view? Is it active? So that makes sense? So we're not telling you that, but that's what this is saying. And then the original facility license is posted in public view. I just said that. The business name on the facility license is correct, and the address matches the facility's physical location. Remember, licensors are not transferred between location to location. The other thing that we do is make sure that you are licensed or registered with Secretary of State. Because if somebody wants to make a complaint about you, not cosmetology-wise, business-wise, they need to have that record on Secretary of State, so your business has to be registered with them. Obviously, the facility license has not been altered in any manner. No, you cannot change anything on your facility license. Things that you do, it's fraudulent. The most recent inspection certificate is posted in public view. Last time we were there, where's our inspection sheet? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So this helps them understand. what it is we're coming in and looking for. Is there a section about sanitation?
Scroll down. Right there.
So, work sites. This is talking about that every work site, this is what we're looking for. The common areas, obviously, common to non-station. And then, again, common areas. I don't need to read all these because there are a lot of them on there. But this at least lets the inspector or the individuals know what we're going to come in and look for. Make sense? Mm-hmm. And so we have an inspection sheet that's very similar to that, but it lays out the actual rule violation numbers. Not anymore. He's shaking his head no. So you don't know what you're talking about.
A long time ago it did.
A long time ago it did.
But the best of my recollection, we don't.
You're so calculated.
I know, right? But it's very similar. And isn't it still it's double-sided to where
It's, yeah,
we bring 1 and 3?
3-ply. And one copy stays with them. If there's violations, it stays with the facility or the independent contractor. They're required to post it. If there's no violations, they get a half card that they can post, and we get a copy of it for the record.
Does that help answer some questions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do have one question. This is Amber. So if a facility owner has independent contractors and say the independent contractor is supposed to put up their license and that license is expired, does the facility owner have any obligation to that person?
Not their independent contractor.
They're independent contractor. They're just working under that facility license.
Right. So so this is where, up here, this is where an independent contractor can get cited for all of that. If you're all employees, the facility holder's going to get this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all implements, tools, and single-use items are properly disinfected, stored, and discarded. So if you are all employees,
laser on it.
What
is happening?
Just something that public safety.
so if you're all employees, the facility holder is going to get a violation for that. If you're all independent contractors, each individual contractor, well, I'm going to hope not every spot, this same dirtiness, but does that make sense?
Yeah, that one contractor will get that.
Right. Whichever place does not use high-level disinfectant, has hair on the floor, whatever, that independent contractor is going to sign it, not the facility.
Hair on the floor, oh no.
And then here, this common areas, even if you are independent contractors, the facility license holder is responsible for common areas. Make sense?
Yeah.
Can we have like dirty coffee cups in a sink from the day?
In
your break room or in the?
No, in the break room.
Oh, that's the break room.
You should see our sink.
Why no? I'm like thinking, what's the worst case scenario for us? Because we bring them back from the patients and put them in the sink because nobody has time to do the dishes.
Right, but that's not your common area. That's not where you're shampooing somebody's hair. That is not in.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, see.
We've had cereal bowls with milk and the shampoo bowl. And
No, that's
Serious.
not what I'm talking about.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Sharing with you, yes.
Okay.
Okay? Any questions? Any more about inspections?
Good.
Yeah, very good. All right, anything else that you want to talk about? Our next regular board meeting won't be till August 17th, depending on what decision you make on April 6th.
I am on vacation April 6th, on an airplane on my way back from Tucson, Arizona.
You sure you want to fly right now?
I already bought it.
You know, you can cancel and they will refund you 100%, Michelle.
Wait, when is the August?
Just to let you know.
What's the August?
So April 6th is the special meeting.
And then August?
August 17th is a regular meeting that's currently scheduled, but based on any decisions you may make on April 6th, that may change.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
That's currently how it's scheduled.
Okay.
Got it.
No more April 6th. So,
Michelle can't be here.
Michelle cannot be here. Where's their rule? Sammy, don't they have...
They have to sign and share that day, I think.
That day?
I think that day. I look.
Because aren't you technically now the vice chair, Cindy?
Okay. No, there's rules. We put it in rule.
could do Skype or something. Could we do that? Could we like have a laptop in front of an empty chair and we could like...
We don't have any cameras.
What about
We
that?
can video chat instead of this? Because we always like talk over each other and stuff, and it'd be nice to be able to see the room.
Oh, wouldn't that be fabulous?
It's,
They can't log
the
into that
chairperson
one?
cannot attend a meeting or
no, they
portion
can't.
of the meeting.
That's
The
not
board
right
must
there.
vote to elect another board member to serve as chairperson for the specific meeting.
So at the April 6th meeting, one of the things that will have to be on the agenda, Sammy, because we know that Michelle cannot attend, so you guys will have to elect a chair for that meeting and that meeting only. So you can't make any decisions today, but think about that between now and April 6th. What?
Do we have enough individuals?
Yes. We haven't heard from Frank. Never mind. Remember, we're still on record and everything's being recorded. Anything else between now and April 6th?
I'm sorry.
Hearing none. Anything else you want to talk about, right?
No.
Okay, so Michelle, you do have a closing script that if you would read. Should be just a one-liner. Yep, not in the blue, but one-liner.
Oh, the Board of Cosmetology meeting is adjourned at 2:15 p.m.